Ready? Are we on? Good afternoon, folks. This is kind of our warmer-upper, and it harkens back to the day when I used to play this alongside one Charlie Moose on the organ and me on piano. And I've every now and then brought it into service.
Is Charlie over here?
He's doing the Charlie. I'm doing the John.
Good afternoon and welcome to Jazz Vespers. For those who do not know me, I am the newly installed pastor at First Reformed Church here, and my name is Martell. Tonight, our theme is actually all creatures, great and ball. See, we came to this decision, I came to this decision actually, when I was told that the last piece would be dedicated to Pele, famous soccer player. And we'll hear more about that later. And so we will have an evening of stories about balls and music that sort of complements it. The first story I'm going to start with, well, actually, that was your prelude, right?
Yeah, that was the Monterey movement from Scaramouche by Darius Milhaud.
Okay. Does everyone know what Scaramouche, where we get that term Scaramouche? Okay, it is a stock character in Italian comedies. I guess that's the English word for it. Comedy. And it's fashioned off of a Spanish Don, and it's poking fun at them. And it's to talk about a character who is both boastful and cowardly. And so that's what the term Scaramouche, what it means. It's to be boastful and cowardly. Our next piece is, actually, I'll tell a story first, and then we'll go into the next piece. How's that?
Can I offer something also with as far as the Scaramouche?
Sure.
Darius Milhaud legend has it that there is or was a bar named Scaramouche in Paris. So, just thought I'd drop that.
There was.
There was?
There was a bar,
well,
yes, in Paris.
No legend about it.
No legend, it's true. First story is, and part of this came from people asking me about myself, and sometimes it's best to learn about a person from whom they associate, or from their family of origin, or from the people that they know. So the first story tonight is about a ball player. Many of you have heard of Curly Lambeau Stadium? All right. Curly Lambeau, Notre Dame fan, Green Bay god in so many ways. Very, very famous, born in the late 1800s, I think 1890-something, and was known by the 20s and 30s about his ball-playing prowess. But Curly Lambeau was not, in his day, the undefeated quarterback and captain of a team. There was one person who was a quarterback and captain of his undefeated team, and the team was the Jersey Red Devils, and that person was George A. Martell, my grandfather. Now, George A. Martell used to say all the time, "A man is only as good as his word." And I can tell you that is not true. The man is only as good as his grandfather's word, because to this day, at age 60, I am still George's grandson. And although George passed away in 1991, I will go to my grave being George's grandson. George had a very long life. He ended up being a chemist at DuPont. At the same time, in the 20s, when he was in college, and left college to play ball, they were figuring out how to put lead in gasoline, which I never let him live down, and later on became a color specialist. So all of those wild colors of the 60s, they were all patented by George A. Martell. That was his thing. Hence, the reason I love color. I was raised in it. But a man is only as good as his grandfather's word.
Okay, so shall I introduce the next song? Or
the next song is African Flower. It's Duke Ellington. And say what you will, but I would love for everyone to listen to the cascading sequences that we get in this song. It's beautiful.
yeah, and this piece is one of my favorite. It actually happens to be one that I picked out because it's the very first book, or very first number in the lead sheet book. And I played it for the Jazz Vespers 2 years ago. It was written pretty late in Duke's life. I'm guessing around the late 60s or early 70s. And jazz had become more internationalized. And you'll hear that. The feel of it is more of a Latin, rather more than anything else. And I'm going to start on this little box.
Thank you. Beautiful. Leading up to the next song, I have a story to talk about a different kind of ball. The International Debutante Ball was founded in 1954. The ball has partially benefited over 50 charities. Daughters and granddaughters of the United States presidents and U.S. state representatives have included the 3 granddaughters and 4 great-granddaughters of President Eisenhower, both daughters and 1 granddaughter of President Nixon, 2 granddaughters of President Johnson, and 1 granddaughter of President Bush, as well as daughters of Mr. and Mrs. Malcolm Steve Forbes and Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Forbes. Families of ambassadors, nobility, as well as businessmen and women have all attended that ball. While the majority of the debutantes come from the United States, each year about 1/4 of the young women come from abroad and form lasting relationships with their American counterparts. In total, 75 countries have been represented at the ball, with France, England, Italy, Germany, and others being most represented. This is where Camille M. Martell was to be presented in 1958, but she was more concerned about a charity of another ball, the Emerald Ball. Both balls were held at the Waldorf Astoria, a New York City landmark. It has been known for generations to be home to the glitterati and extravagant parties, and provided a gilded refuge for presidents, royalty, movie stars, rock stars, and the like can simply just be and have fun. The Waldorf in those days was like Hollywood, where one could drink with Cole Porter and the Reagans and Shirley MacLaine and become friends with Dina Merrill. It was here that celebrities didn't want to be oohed and awed at, they just wanted to have fun. In 1932, a 17-year-old David Rockefeller was a stag for the Victory Ball at this Astoria hotel. And in 1964, Tricia Nixon had her coming out at the International Debutante Ball. But none of this was good enough for Camille, because Camille really liked the Emerald Ball. See, the Emerald Ball raised its money for one thing, and that was for the orphans. So when Camille decided that she was going to come out, she told her parents that she was coming out at the ball. She wanted to come out not with all of their friends, kids, and she was going to do it because the money that she was going to raise for the ball was going to go to orphans. End of story. That's my mother. Now, Camille's ball, the Emerald Ball of her choice, was to be held on February 15th or 16th of 1958. Now, I don't know if you lived in this area in 1958, but it was the year of the great snowstorm, where 4 feet fell on this whole area overnight. Let's just say the ball continued because of one thing alone. The subway system in New York was still running. And although my grandparents could not make it there, most of the people who were in the city got to go to the Emerald Ball on February 16th in 1958 because of the subway. Our next song, although not the right subway, is Take the A Train from Duke Ellington. Does everybody know how that title came to be that title? Okay, so Duke Ellington was trying to tell somebody he was going to collaborate with how to get to his house. And so the first thing he wrote was, take the A train, and then the rest of the directions were after that. So that's how the... that was Billy Strayhorn, right? Yes, and it was, and the A train opened in 1936. So, yeah, very cool. You have heard a story of the, sorry, that's going to come later. This is story number 3. As a pastor, I find myself responsible to always bring God and the Bible into everything that I do. And this is Jazz Vespers. It's just not a jazz show, correct? So there should be some element of God. And so I went scouring Scripture to find out anything I could about where the Bible said anything about sports. I came up fairly empty-handed. Let's see, I did find in Isaiah 22, verse 18, he will surely wind thee round and round and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt you die. I don't think that is actually where we want to go with this, right? So then I looked up several things, and it dawned on me that there are 2 really bad ball puns in Scripture, and they are these. Let's see, the famous ball player, it would be Rebecca, who walked to the well with a pitcher, and the prodigal son, who made a home run. There you go. I tried. Ain't much there at all. We now have before us 3 things that are much better than my bad jokes. 3 preludes by Gershwin, correct? Is that what we're doing next, or?
Do you want us to run them straight through, or do you want to?
Yeah, run them straight through.
Okay.
Would you like that? Okay.
Yeah. Make one great big long number. All right. This one kind of reminds you of Summertime that Gershwin also wrote.
Would you like to make an announcement about your album?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Martell. Yeah.
Could you tell us what those pieces were from? I think one was Porgy and Bess.
No, they're not from Porgy and Bess. They're actually three preludes that Gershwin wrote, I think sometime in the late 20s, but I could be wrong. And they were meant to be performed as individual pieces, but they were also arranged for any combination of C instruments and piano or whatever. He originally wrote it for a single piano. And a later arranger came out and said, hey, I think I'd like to double the effort and make it sound good on two pianos instead of one. So
The three preludes were originally supposed to be a number of 3 of 24, called a series called The Melting Pot. They were first performed in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York in 1926.
thank you, Martell.
Sure.
I never knew that. So anyway, I came out when COVID was high and mighty in the year 2020. I had very little to do, and I was home, and I said, why don't I stir the pot a little bit creatively? And fortunately for me, First Reformed Church afforded me the opportunity to come in on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. series that Bill Levering had set up. And I was able to improvise for a half hour or 45 minutes. And what I came up with was some tracks that I decided to put together an album called Socially Undistanced. And it's currently for sale. If you want me to, I can let you know where you can buy it if you want. It has, like I said, most of the tracks were recorded here in this building. Some of them were out of my studio at my house. And that's all I have to say, I guess. Any questions? Or?
The 78, it's a big album.
No, it's a 33 1/3. People have asked me, well, what's it like producing an album? And I said to them, I think, well, it's like planning a wedding and you're the father of the bride. So, anyway, thank you, Martell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You have heard about a dog and a boy and his dog, or a dog and his boy. And I'm going to share a story about this boy's dog, Cormac, who really didn't care very much for the boy. And the boy had a really tough relationship with the dog. If you were ever to follow my lead, when you're buying a dog or getting a dog, get a female. They're so much easier. They're so much kinder, and they read your mind. Male dogs are defiant, especially this one. This one was an Irish setter, and he was defiant. Really hard to train, unlike the one I just had before him, Gretchen, who was a Doberman, and she was a love. Anyway, Cormac loved this one tennis ball, and we used to play catch all the time. It was his ball. He loved this ball. And every now and then, if I were to pick up another tennis ball, even of the same color, Cormac didn't care. Cormac wanted this smelly, green tennis ball that had way too much saliva on it ever. It was so uncomfortable to throw. But Cormac loved this tennis ball. And one day we were out, I used to carry it with me when we went for a jog, and I was down jogging on this little rivulet outside of Bridgeton, New Jersey. And I threw the ball too hard, and it went over a ravine and down a hill and got lost. And Cormac couldn't figure out how to navigate the hill, and I was doing everything to pull Cormac back from the ravine. And let's just say the dog was angry with me, very angry with me, sulked for days and days and days and days and days, probably a little longer than that. That happened to be in a fall. Later that same year in spring, or the next year in spring, Cormac and I were taking a walk around the Cohansey River, and Cormac darted away from me and went down to the riverbank and came up with, what did you know? That same blasted, green, smelly tennis ball. Where it had been over the past several months, I had no idea, but that dog loved that ball. Sometimes love doesn't make sense. And sometimes you can't help it if the things that you care about love something that's smelly and old and slobbery. And it's a lesson for us all to be true to our green tennis ball, even when other people don't get it.
What are we doing? Huh? You provide? Oh, yeah. Okay. Another Duke Ellington.
was beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. That was the Duke Ellington?
That was Duke Ellington.
And that was Toodle-oo.
East St. Louis Toodaloo, and East St. Louis was one of those stops on the way from the migration up from the south up to Chicago, where there were better jobs and certainly more musical opportunities. A lot of them ended up finding good employment and decent housing in East St. Louis, and some of them stayed there. And so East St. Louis had an economic boom during those times, which I think was the Roaring '20s. And then it sort of kind of fizzled.
Yeah. I didn't know it. I've been calling it by the wrong name this whole time. I thought it was Toodle-doo, and it's Toodle-oo. I didn't know. So it was one of the things I found out looking this up.
Yeah, and actually Duke Ellington used that song with his big band as an opener for his sets, especially when he was in the Midwest and on his tours.
Now, your next song is Girl from Ipanema?
It is, yes. And
Great story behind that. Beautiful woman walking, and the artist who wrote it, in 1962, was taken by this person who walked past every day on her way to work, was on the way to the shore. She became quite famous just because she was the girl from Ipanema. And it's a song that is, I think, one of the second most recorded songs of all time. It has been recorded that often. When I was reading about it, and I mean, you can go on Google and Google this yourself, or on Wikipedia and do it all yourself, and you actually can read interviews about this woman. But what really hit me was that the way that the author, the artist writes about it was, it's almost as if beauty and youth are the same thing. And in Cary Grant in The Bishop's Wife, when he plays the angel in The Bishop's Wife, if you're familiar with the movie, it is one of my favorite Christmas movies ever. And I don't know why it's not played more often, but he actually says that about the Loretta Young character, that youth and beauty are the exact same thing. I don't know anyone who doesn't like that song. I love it. The next song is going to be dedicated to Pele, correct?
We thought we'd do a little bit of improv.
Why don't you do some improv? Okay, so I'll do this. I'll make a plug for the Jazz Vespers here and online. Let you know that there is a box you can drop some collection in on the way out the door, or you can go online or on your phone or whatever and make a deposit there for to keep this thing going and running. We will give you some improvisation for a while. Then I'll speak, and we'll end with a big bang. What do you think?
Big bang, yes.
All right. And afterwards, please stay around. There are plenty of goodies for all of us. So.
And I unilaterally decided to call that one Ode to Martell.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. There is an understanding in my family that although the men and boys tend to be okay, the girls reign. They are smarter, they are stronger, they have it all over us in every which way. I am blessed with 6 nieces. 3 are biological and 3 are not. They are accomplished and they are stunning, and I want to be like all of them when I grow up. The youngest, Elizabeth, is my youngest brother's youngest child, and Elizabeth is a force with whom to be reckoned. At a young age, she has a competitive edge that puts every competitor to shame, as far as I'm concerned. A couple years ago, she and I were in this conversation, a political conversation about girls' teams and boys' teams, and she said, "I don't quite get it, Unky." And I said, "Why?" She said, "You know, if they're going to be better than you are, you're going to become better because you play them. So I'll take on any guy. I'll take him on until I win." And that's the way she thinks. And I watched her play soccer once, and she will literally kick the ball at someone to get them out of the way over and over and over again. She has this instinct. And so when they said that, and she's really remarkable, I've watched her move literally like a ballerina playing soccer, where I don't know how she knows to twist her body in certain ways to kick a ball that's coming from behind her back over her head in a different way. It's instinctual, and it's stunning, and yet it's deliberate, and it's competitive. And she's really, really smart and really, really talented. And she plays soccer really, really well. So when I came across this poem from Marilyn Lott called Soccer Girl, I thought, well, we're talking about balls, and the last piece will be dedicated to Pele, so I'm going to read about Soccer Girl from my niece, Elizabeth. She gets out there and hustles. She does her very best. It's all about the teamwork, and winning is her quest. Pretty as a picture, she could be most anything, but for now she's chosen soccer and working hard for her team. Ponytail is flying, the ball is flying too. She got those rules down good, and she knows just what to do. So come on, folks, and watch the game if you want to see the best. A girl who could be a beauty queen, but soccer is her quest.
Okay, and this is a very exciting song, so brace yourselves. It certainly gives the kind of excitement that you experience if you go to an international soccer tournament, or if you're playing soccer in an international soccer tournament, which I've done neither. But suffice it to say that this is the kind of piece you probably won't hear in a church service.